What is going on, Rivian fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to give you a quick overview of some of the data points, some of the latest updates, and as well what some analysts are doing as far as the upcoming Q2 earnings. So I'm going to go over all that. Make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So it did close 2.92% in the green. As far as volume, it was a little bit lower, so 66 million for today. 111 is the average. And if you do look at, for instance, what happened on the secondary market, there was some pretty good transactions, and the frequency, or at least the number of transactions, was definitely there. But a lot of the substantial ones, so in excess of 1 million, wasn't necessarily there. So it kind of, once again, justifies why the volume was a little bit lower. But based on a lot of the data points that was coming out today, a lot of them are fairly bullish, one of which is options activity. So today there was $37 million in calls being purchased versus 7.71 million in puts. So based on this, people are anticipating for Rivian to continue to trend up. And if you are looking at the grid right here, this shows all the strike prices, expiry dates. Based on this, it is anticipated to go roughly between the 26 and 26.50 in the next week. And by their earnings, it looks like it's kind of all over the place. So of course, I don't think anyone necessarily knows exactly where earnings might land Rivian, but based on some analysts, it does look like they did recently up their revenue. So for instance, right here, it does show the same 16 estimates done by analysts, but versus 945.55 million in potential revenue. That's what they're assuming. And now they did recently update it to 956 million. So of course, that's a fairly positive sign that they did recently up that. And that did happen over the last week. But when it comes down to earnings per share, nothing has really changed in that regard. And on a side note, hopefully they do once again reconfirm in the Q2 earnings that they are going to be at least profitable in 2024, sometime in 2024, most likely Q3. But that's just my own estimate, not financial advice. So you guys always do your own due diligence. But when it comes down to today, there was nothing as far as actual PR or SEC filings from Rivian itself. There was a couple of things that did come out, one of which was the fact that Ford is slashing prices. And even though this is a little bit more of a negative for Ford and kind of does show that there's a demand issue, that's kind of positive for Rivian because they haven't actually cut prices by any means. And if anything, on the Q1 earnings, they did say that their demand is very much there for all of their vehicles. So definitely, I think that's a fairly good thing. Bad for Ford though. And this did come out. This is a little bit more of a rumor, but it does say Porsche USA's former CEO rumored to join Rivian. And based on his previous experience, it looks like he would be a very good asset to Rivian. So this is also helping with the stock price today. And finally, there was economic data. So retail sales was a little bit lower than the forecast, both on a month over month and a year over year kind of basis. So it's once again kind of a backwards kind of scenario. So when there is good data that does come out and very positive, then the market goes down. Vice versa in this case, because once again, it is all very much linked to Powell and his ammunition to tentatively raise rates or not. So I think this is negative as far as data, which is being interpreted as a positive. So this is why there was a lot of good rallying happening with Rivian and a lot of the other EVs. So this is why it did have a high of $25.83. But a lot of people want to know, is this going to be sustained? And when this was at around $26.20, I did say that it needed to pull back to around the mid 23s for it to kind of correct. And that is exactly what it did on the 17th. And of course, based on this, so with it being $24.69, it is currently between, I'll just quickly go to the 4-hour. So it is currently between this point right here, so the S1 to the pivot. So $23.84 is that next big support for Rivian. So that's something that you need to watch to see if it does kind of retrace back to what happened on the 17th. But vice versa, if there is some good data that does keep the momentum up, then potentially it could have a high of past that 25.10 and then of course past that at 26.36. And like I mentioned, as far as the options activity, it is anticipated to go back to around the 26.50 or 26 to 26.50 range. But when it comes down to options activity, this does not move the stock price. It is just merely a sentiment. As far as this, it does look like retail investors, or the number of retail investors, have been up today, and that is based on the momentum indicator. And looking at stochastic, a little bit more of a bearish sentiment right now, but it is considered at 85. So it does need to, like I've said in previous videos, pull back a little bit and to consolidate to build a very strong support. But of course, I think there's been a lot of good justification for it to continue its rally over the last little bit. But over and above that, though, I just want to give you guys a quick overview of what happened with shorts. So short score is currently 65, utilization is 36.54%. And as far as what shorts did today, they ended up increasing 624.65 thousand shares, 15.86% of the free floats being shorted, and that works out to be 97.3 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average is 1%. So that's just very, very small. So I don't see Rivian being a mother of all short squeeze by any means, but it's a good benchmark. So the fact that they were green today and shorts were increasing their position clearly does show that they anticipate that they basically don't believe that this rally is justified, that it should be kind of pulling back a little bit. So once again, this is where they're probably kind of relying on this data right here and not really the inverse version of it, as well looking at some of the technicals with it being overbought. So once again, this is probably why shorts were increasing today. Let me know you guys' thoughts on all this in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. One final thing I just wanted to share with you, take advantage of free promos, and that is with Moomoo. Link in the description below and also the comments. Sign up for a free account and throw $100 at it. You get 5 free stocks plus a $50 cash reward. So it's a win-win. Link in the description below and also the comments. And plus, on a side note, each stock is valued up to $2,000. So like I said, it's a win-win. With that said, I appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on Rivian.